So if we spend less money to launch the company, the probability of the company to stay in the valley of death is less. Let's see one question for you. Imagine that you have $100,000 in a bank with a 4% interest rate. And the bank is a great bank, it's guaranteed by United Nations, by the International Monetary Fund, by the government of the Kingdom of Thailand, so it's guaranteed. So you have two options. One option is you put the money, you bring the money at home, and you receive 0% interest rate. The second option is you bring this money to the bank and you receive 4% interest rate, annual interest rate. Let me introduce you a fantastic entrepreneur, Zephyr. And he's promising you to invest, that if you invest in his company, he will pay you 5%. Can you believe 5% is 25% more than 4%? It's an amazing deal. It's absolutely fantastic. He's a great entrepreneur, correct? So you have three options: 0% at home, 4% in the bank, and 5% in this fantastic entrepreneur, Zephyr. Imagine that you do not have any other options. Who wants to invest in Zephyr? I need to tell Mimi that this is a super risk-averse audience. I'm very, very disappointed. I promised Zephyr that I would get investors, and I think I need to pitch in another session. I'm sorry. All right, but IMF and the World Bank are very interested in promoting entrepreneurship here in Thailand. And let me give you good news. So the World Bank tells you, if Zephyr doesn't pay you the 5%, the World Bank will pay you immediately 5% and the capital, and without any questions. You send an email and they will just wire the money to you. So you have three options: 0% at home, 4% in this bank, and 5% in Zephyr. So with the guarantee of the World Bank. So imagine that you do not have any other option. Who wants to invest in Zephyr? Wow! I need to tell Mimi how to turn a lot of risk-averse people into very interested people in investing in Zephyr. I'm sure that you understood how good the entrepreneur is. You like the project. You have listened a lot about the project, correct? So what changed me? What? The risk. So what we learned here is, in this small example, if we want to increase our odds of fundraising, then we need to reduce the risk to investors. It's simple as this. There is this chart, which I call the mother of all charts. I created it. And this chart shows exactly this problem. We have on the vertical axis the probability of an entrepreneur to raise money for their ventures. And on the horizontal axis, we have the mitigated risks. In each of the business, there are basically 5 risks. It's the market risk, the entrepreneur risk, the financial risk, the legal risk, and the operational risk. In my book, I call this math flow, and we will come later to this. So why is this? What is a problem? Because there are some, let's call animals in the ecosystem, in the entrepreneurial ecosystem, called banks. Usually the entrepreneurs call them devils. So the banks just accept very little risk. So if your project has a little bit more risk, then entrepreneurs need to go to mutual guarantee entities, which are entities that give a guarantee to the bank in case the entrepreneur doesn't pay. But if there is more risk, then the entrepreneurs need to go to the venture capitalists. And if there is more risk, then they need to go to the angel investors. And if there is more risk, then they only can go to crowdfunding. From this point, if an entrepreneur wants to fundraise, The only possibilities are called the three Fs. You must know the family, friends, and fools. There are a lot of fools there, so there is no problem with that. And state. A lot of countries give grants, give free money or loan to entrepreneurs that don't have any possibility. But why is this a problem? The problem is 95% of the projects that are presented to investors are on the left side of this chart. 95%. So if an entrepreneur wants to fundraise and it's on the left side, there are two options to the entrepreneur. One option is believe that the government will come and tell all these entities, you need to accept more risk. If this is the case, just tell the entrepreneur, relax, the future will come. Don't need to do anything. You can wait 1 year, 10 years, 100 years, 200 years, but the future will come. Don't need to do anything. But if the entrepreneur believes that the government will not say this to these entities, then the only thing that the entrepreneur can do is basically mitigate the risk. And by mitigating the risk, the probability of these entities to fundraise increases. The same chart is the probability of an entrepreneur to start their business. You know that the main reason why people don't start businesses, people that have business ideas, is the fear of failure, is the risk. If we see the Global Entrepreneurship Monitor, you can see, for instance, in Thailand, 50% of the adults have a business idea, they don't do anything. So, I have a fantastic business idea, I want to start my company, but I don't do anything because I'm afraid of failure because of a lot of risks. And so for these people, the only option is to mitigate risks. Sometimes I talk with entrepreneurs. They come to me and say, hey, I need money. And I ask, why do you need money? Oh, because this is the way I feel safe, because then I have money to pay my salary. And I say, well, why do you need this money? Can you do it differently, mitigating the risk? And in the end of the process, they tell me, oh, so there is no risk. So why do I need investors? I don't need investors, I will do it by myself. Exactly. So if you mitigate the risk of the project, you will come sometimes to conclusions that you do not need investors. Of course, this mindset that I have a business idea, I need money, I need investors, this is wrong. It should be, I have a business idea, I need clients, and probably I don't need investors. So clients is the most important thing. There are two studies internationally that I think are very relevant for this topic. One is in Europe, EBAN, European Business Angel Network. They surveyed more than 600 angel investors in startups and asked them, why did you refuse to invest in some deals that you didn't invest? And another study is in the US from CB Insights. And if we come to the study, the reasons why investors didn't invest in some deals, the first reason is not that the project doesn't have enough potential, that there is not enough return. The main reason, as you can see, is that the project had too many risks. 87% of the times, investors didn't invest in deals because the project had too many risks. What entrepreneurs listen in some acceleration programs and some incubation programs? You need to come there to the investors, pitch very confident, and show that you will conquer the world. No. If you see, only 7% of the projects that are presented to investors have low return potential. So, what do you think that entrepreneurs should do? You should focus saying that instead of saying we will conquer Asia in 2 years, you should say we will conquer the world in 2 years, or conquer the world and Mars and the moon in 2 years. Do you think this will help to fundraise, or to mitigate the risks and show the investors that they have mitigated the risk? What do you think? Do you think it's better? Do you think that investors will be more entitled to invest if someone promises a lot of things? Of course not. Then there was another question to the investors. What were the reasons why the project you found that there was the risks? The first one is market demand was not proven. So sometimes entrepreneurs have an idea, business idea, but they didn't talk with investors, they don't talk with clients. So the investors are afraid that there is no market demand. And in reality, this is the main risk that it was identified. So if you see, we have the market risk, and we have the team risk, we have legal risk, financial risk, and operational risk. Then they were asked another question. If the project risks are reduced, your willingness to invest as an investor increases or reduces. 96% said increases. So there is no doubt that if an entrepreneur wants to fundraise, he needs to think how the investor will see the deal and to mitigate the risks. So in each of the projects, as we have mentioned before, there are basically 5 risks: the market risk, the team risk, the financial risk, legal risk, and operational risk. These are the 5 risks that entrepreneurs need to understand and try to mitigate. What usually happens is that entrepreneurs listen to governments, to entities say, if you have a good idea, the money will come. Look, if this would be true, do you think we would be here? Of course not. We would be at home, just generating ideas in the morning, and in the afternoon we would sell the ideas, correct? So we would not be here. So, and the entrepreneurs focus on their needs. I need, and they should think how the investor is going to earn money. The investor doesn't care about the needs of the entrepreneur. The investor wants to know how he's going to make money. So the entrepreneur doesn't focus on mitigating risks. And then it shows like this. A lot of risk to the investors and very little risk to the entrepreneur. The entrepreneur says, I don't want any risk. Why do I need to take any risk? I'm so brilliant, I'm so good entrepreneur. And the government says if I have a good idea, the money will come. So why do I need to mitigate risk? No, I just keep doing this. So what entrepreneurs need to do is they need to reduce the risk, and they need to put some skin in the game from themselves to show that they are committed. What entrepreneurs usually do is, I have a business idea, I need money, I will start fundraising. And in the process, the investors will tell them some things, and then the entrepreneurs will start trying to mitigate the risk. This is wrong. What should be done is entrepreneurs should mitigate, 80% of the time should mitigate risks, and then 20% fundraise. Why? Because if they mitigate the risk, the probability of an investor to invest increases, so there is no need so much time. Of course, we need to focus on high impact and high probability risks. We cannot focus on all risks because some risks are beyond our control. We cannot control an earthquake, we cannot control the tsunami. So, but we can control if we contacted clients, if we have got the license. So those key factors that depend on us, we should focus. Let me tell you one important thing. It's the difference between perceived risk and real risk. I've seen this as a lot of mistakes from entrepreneurs. So entrepreneurs think that investors understand everything about the product. They are experts in the field. They understand the competition. And then they pitch to the investors, like the investors understand everything, which is not true. So what happens is, if an entrepreneur says something like, this product will save 30% of energy in the cars or at home. 30%, what do you think the investors will think? This is maybe not true, maybe it did at his home in special conditions. But if the entrepreneur says, I have here a statement from this reliable lab that shows that it saves 30% of electricity at home, then the perceived risk from the investors becomes the real risk. So this gap, the entrepreneurs need to narrow this gap in order that the investors understand the real risks. Because if the investors are not understanding all your project, they see many more risks than in reality they are. So the first thing that an entrepreneur needs to do when pitching to the investors is to try to narrow this gap between perceived risk and real risk. And it's good that you try to understand from the investor what is their background. I see entrepreneurs pitching to investors always the same way. Try to understand when you pitch to investors. Maybe you can ask, so tell me if you are familiar with this ecosystem, this area of business. And they will tell, look, I'm super familiar because I have this. Okay, great. Then let's do this. Now the investor says, no, I don't understand anything. Then you need to adapt. Try to understand what is the level of knowledge of the investor. So for each of the risks, the entrepreneurs can do 4 things. 1, eliminate. Let's assume the following. I'm an entrepreneur and I'm pitching to you as an investor. Look, I need $1 million. And I will hire people, I will build an office, and I will develop the software, and I will get the license to operate. This is one way to pitch. Another way to pitch is to start entrepreneur needs a license to operate. Probably it's better to start getting the license before investing a lot of money. Another thing is to reduce the amount of investment. Imagine that you want $500,000 and you want to start a business in 5 cities in Thailand, imagine. In each city you need to invest 100,000. One way to pitch to investors is, I need 500,000. I will do 5 in these 5 cities. This is a fantastic business plan. Another way to pitch is, look, the business needs 500,000. I want your commitment to invest 500,000, but we will do the following. We will open in Bangkok, and when we have 5,000 clients, so we are break-even. So we will invest $100,000 in Bangkok until we have 5,000 clients. This means we will be break-even. Once we are break-even, we will go to the second city, we will invest another 100,000. When we have together 10,000 clients, so we are earning money already, then we will open a third city. So in this way, in the first way, how much was the risk of the investors? That you ask 500,000, you want to open 5. How much was the risk of the investors? $500,000, right? On the second approach, what was the risk of the investors? 100,000. And imagine that you say to the investors, and by the way, if in this first operation here in Bangkok, we are not successful, I have agreed with the supplier of the machines of the 100,000 that they will buy back my machines for 50% of the price. So, in case your business is really bad, the the supplier of the machines, which you paid 100,000, will give you back 50,000 after 1 year, which you give to the investor. So you say to the investor, now your risk is 50,000. And, by the way, if in the country there are tax breaks, so that there are tax incentives where the investor can deduct or on their income tax bill a certain amount. So in Malaysia, for instance, it's 100%, in Turkey 75%, in UK it's 50%. Then you tell the investor, look, despite your risk is 50,000, because you invest 100,000 in the beginning, you can deduct, imagine, 50%. So in reality, it doesn't have any risk. So you need to reduce the risk to the investor, so he will say that he wants to invest. Do you think that the first approach, I need 500,000, is better, or is better the second approach? Second approach, please raise the hands. No doubt, correct? But this is the mindset that entrepreneurs need to do. Another thing is you can transfer risk. You can transfer risk by buying an insurance for some of the risks, or subcontracting a production. Instead of you starting with a factory, why don't you subcontract the production initially to someone else? Why do you need to build immediately a factory if you don't have clients to buy the product? And of course, in the last one, you need to assume. So you need to assume some of the risks. In the book, I talk about something called ALRIR and ALTAR, which is the acceptable level of tangible risk. So all entrepreneurs need to understand what is their maximum level of risk which they accept. And you should never go above that, because if it's above your acceptable level of risk, then you will not start the business. Let me give you an example. PhD student from Bangkok University. I don't want to say any university here in Bangkok, but the best university in Thailand has this fantastic idea for developing this device, which will produce electricity. He got the license to operate, so he has done some research in the lab and is looking for $3 million. It's a PhD, it's renewable energy. You want to invest? Do you want to invest? Do you see any risks here? Any risks? PhD has a license to operate, he sells all the electricity to the grid. Do you see any risks here? So he's saying that there is no correlation between being PhD and being successful entrepreneur, correct? For this product, yes. You are killing the university business. You understand what you're saying? You are saying that universities are not good enough. So, yeah, that's a good one. Any other risk? You don't have, you don't know if he's going to perform. Yeah. So, apparently nobody wants to invest. Apparently nobody wants to invest because probably we don't know if the performance will be good. But instead of pitching $3 million, he comes to an entity called Catapult from the UK government, which is an independent expert lab, which analyzes all the drawings of the entrepreneur and understands and says and elaborates a report saying, we believe that the performance of the device will be exactly as the entrepreneur said. We have analyzed all the calculations, all the materials, and we confirm this is good. And with this statement, the entrepreneur goes to an insurance company and gets an insurance for non-performing hours. And so even if it stops working, the insurance will pay the non-performing hours. So he has the license to operate, he has this insurance. So do you think that now you will invest, correct? Of course, because there is no risk. So what do you think is the best approach for an entrepreneur? He has this idea, he comes and pitches for $3 million, or he goes to an entity, reliable entity like Catapult, and gets this statement, gets to the insurance, and then he pitches to the investors. What do you think is the best? First approach or second approach? Second approach, raise hands. Of course. But entrepreneurs sometimes are so eager, they just need the money, and they go and rush to the investors, and of course, too much risk, investors don't invest. Let's talk now about each of the risks and some ideas on how to mitigate the risks. Of course, this is not exhaustive. In the book, I give more than 100 tips, concrete tips on how to reduce risk of startups to investors and to the entrepreneurs. If you have a project, business to consumer, a product, a device for consumers, why don't you try to do a reward-based crowdfunding campaign in platforms like Indiegogo, Kickstarter? I've done several investments in companies that did projects in Indiegogo and Kickstarter. One of the projects, the entrepreneur came to me and asked me to invest, and I said, look, I don't know if there is a market for this. So I told him, hey, why don't you go to Indiegogo, Kickstarter, do a campaign and see if there is a market. So he went, and he was very successful. He raised $300,000 in sales. So it was not investment, it was people purchasing the product. The best money to entrepreneurs is not money from investors. It's not money from the bank. It's not money from the government. It's not money, your money. It's the money of the clients. So he got $300,000 of orders. And so I decided to invest in the company. So easy. I told the same thing to other entrepreneurs, and they failed because there was no market. So if you want to fundraise and you want to reduce the risk, if you have a product that can be sold to business to consumer, then go and do a crowdfunding campaign and sell your product before you produce your product. Another thing that is very important is approve samples with the clients. If it's a business to business, if it's a business that you are selling your products to a business, then you can send your samples and get the feedback of the business. One of my investments that I did was in a company, a resin company, and we did this exactly. We sent samples and we proved the samples. In the first year of operation of this company, we did startup from $27 million, $27 million of revenues. First year, startup. Why? Because we got orders from the clients, we produced samples, and we didn't build the factory and then try to sell. We first produce samples, get feedback from clients, get orders from clients, and then we build the factory. It's the all way around. Because if we see that the clients want the product and we build a factory, there is a high risk that the product that we think that the clients want is not what they really need. And this was the case. So we need to change. After we send samples to the clients, we need to change which machines we would buy, the size of the factory, etc., based on their feedback. Of course, business to business, always try to get pre-orders because this is the best thing for your business, because it means that there is a demand for your product. Sometimes entrepreneurs have an idea. They are sometimes engineers. I am an engineer, so no problem with that. And they don't have access to the market. So instead of you trying to sell, why don't you try to find key representatives for your product in different markets? Another way is you, for instance, Thailand, you have a lot of diaspora around the world. Why don't you talk with people in US, Europe, to try to help sell your product? Don't try to do everything by yourself because it poses a lot of risk. Imagine the difference. You come to an investor and say, hey, I have this fantastic product and I will sell this in US, in Europe. This is one way to pitch. Another way to pitch is, look, I have this product. I know how hard it is to sell. So we were able to make an agreement with this entity in UK. They have 150 clients of this product. They have experience, and we established a partnership where they will sell this product to the clients. And you can see they are very happy with the product, and they feel very confident. Which one you think is better? Just entrepreneur says, I will sell this in US, or I will have this person in UK, this person in US, this person somewhere else. Another thing is turn suppliers into clients. Let me tell you a story. One of my investments needed to do an investment of $1 million to buy a machine. So instead of buying the machine, I asked them, give me the suppliers. So there were 3 suppliers there. And when I went to look to the suppliers, I saw, well, this supplier belongs to a big group. So I told the entrepreneurs, hey, why don't you talk with this company and tell them, look, we can buy the machine from you if the other company in your group buys our products. You cannot imagine. They got crazy. The supplier was knocking to the other company from the same group selling our products. Turn suppliers into clients. Even if they don't belong to a big group, what you can say to them is, hey, if you find me clients, then I buy the machine to you. And I tell you, they will work hard to find you clients. And this is free for you because you don't need to spend money with them. You just need to buy the machine or buy the equipment if they find you clients. Think about this, turn suppliers into clients. It's a very, very powerful tip. I've helped a lot of entrepreneurs that thought that they needed money from investors, and after they did this approach, they didn't need any investment at all. So market risk is the first one. Second one is team risk. One of the problems that entrepreneurs face is that they think that they have everything, they have all the skills to launch the business. And in reality, this is not true. Because many times the entrepreneur is just an engineer and he doesn't have any sales, or he's just a salesperson but doesn't have any technical background. In each company, we have 3 functions. 3. One is produce. Second is to administrative staff, manage, financials. And the third one is sales. So you have to have these 3 functions at home and in the company. So 3 functions. If you don't have 3 functions, people that are experts on these 3 areas, you have a problem. You need to have a co-founder. You need to do, another thing is to bring an instrument. For instance, imagine that you want to create a factory, but you don't know anything about creating factories. So you can hire a manager for 1 year just to help you to create a factory, to build a factory. You don't need him to be co-founder. You can hire an interim manager. This reduces a lot of the risk. You come to an investor and say, hey, I need this money, I will create a factory, or I need this money, I will create a factory, but this will be managed by this person that has created 15 factories. Which one do you think the investors will prefer? The second approach, of course. Another way that you can do is to bring angel investors with the same. Someone that invests money in your company and can also bring added value, connections, networking. And this person will reduce the risk. In many of my projects, initially I took some role in the company, either IT or CFO, in order to help the company. So sometimes you bring a business angel if you don't need anyone else in the team that with that specific area. Think about doing strategic partnerships with reliable partners. Sometimes entrepreneurs want to do everything. I've given the example of a factory. Instead of you trying to build a factory, why don't you say initially, I will subcontract the production to someone else that has all the skills and all the experience and all the facilities. This will reduce the risk. You are outsourcing this risk. You are putting this risk to the other side. One of the biggest problems I see a lot of entrepreneurs is they just think about themselves. They don't think about investors. So, and they say, I need this, I need that. And they don't think how the investor perceives the risk. So one of the things that the entrepreneurs need to do is to put some skin in the game. Let me tell you this story. An entrepreneur came to me. He was 45 years old. And he told me, look, I have this fantastic idea. I've been successful since I was 25. When I graduated, I went to this company, then I was manager there, then I went to the board, then I was the CEO of this company. And afterwards, then I moved to the other company, and I was the CEO of that company, and we sold the company. Totally successful. So 20 years of success. And I say, wow, congratulations. And he says, I need $1 million. And I say, how much money are you going to put to invest? And he said, 50,000. 50,000. He said, wow. So in 20 years, this is the project of your life, and you are going to invest 15,000. So tell me, what did you do to the money during 20 years? Where did you spend the money? It's gambling, it's parties, it's alcohol. Tell me, where did you spend the money? And by the way, you must have gone to a bank, and the bank must not have given you the loan. What did you do to the bank? Tell me, what did you do to the bank? Because the bank didn't give you the loan. And by the way, in 20 years of success, you are not able to find one single person that you worked with that says, oh, I believe in this person, and here is 5,000. You don't have one single friend that believes in you. And by the way, you don't have any family relative in America, in Europe, wherever, that says, oh, I believe my cousin, here is 5,000. You are alone in this planet. Please tell me, what did you do? And you say, no, I have no problem. I have money in the bank, but I don't want to risk. So this mindset that I have money in the bank, but the risk is to the others, brings to the problem that the investor will think, if this entrepreneur fails, he will find immediately another job and he will move. And he will leave me as an investor with the responsibility to take care of the company. So this brings a lot of risk to the project. So when you approach investors, think about how can you show skin in the game to the investors. Let's go to the legal risk. One of the issues of many businesses is that they need license to operate. I've seen thousands of business plans, thousands of presentations, and less than 1% bring a freedom to operate statement, showing that they can operate in the market. Why is this? So one of the main risks of the investors when they try to invest in a company is if they are infringing any patent, if they are having any problem with the patent or with legal stuff. So try to think that bring a freedom to operate statement from a reliable entity, so that when you show the investor, say, look, we have here the freedom to operate statement, which shows that we can operate. One of the deals that I was involved was a company that I've invested. We sold to a very large corporate in Germany, and we were only able to sell the company because before the sales process to this company, the exit started, we got freedom to operate statements in the main markets around the planet. if we have not got this, the company would have never got the start. So think about getting a freedom to operate statement, not only before starting the company, but also if you want to exit the company, if you want to sell to someone else. Another way is, we have done this before, is the money comes after licensing. Another thing that I have given this tip to many entrepreneurs is operate through a licensed company. So imagine that you have, you want to do travel business, and you need to have a license of a travel agency. But imagine that you need, for a travel agency, you need to have $100,000 in the bank to give a guarantee deposit. You need to have 5 computers, 5 people working in the company. You need to hire an office, and maybe this is 250,000. So what you think is, I don't do this business because it's too much risk. Another way to do this business is to do the following. You approach a travel agency with a license, and you tell them, hey, I want to do a partnership with you. I will launch this web page with this activity, let's say biking in Thailand, and I will get clients. And the page says operated by your company. And when I have clients, you invoice my clients, you receive the money from my clients, and in the end of the activity, you transfer the money to me. And you get 10% or 15% of the revenue. So, do you need a license to operate to start a business? No, you can start tomorrow, the business. The other way is you put a lot of money, a lot of time, and in the end, maybe you find out that you don't have clients. A typical use case for this is industrial kitchens. I've helped so many entrepreneurs to start business of food without money. How I tell them, look, go to the local church, go to school. Many church, schools, and government facilities, kitchens, industrial kitchens, only work during lunchtime. At night they are closed, or during the weekend. Try to do an agreement with them so that you can use the kitchen at night or during the weekend, and you pay a fee to them. They have a license to operate. You don't need to do a lot of investment. And then if you have clients, then you can build your kitchen. But you start immediately the business, low risk, and you can adapt, because probably the products that you think the clients want probably is not what you are thinking, but they want something else, and then you will buy the machinery according to what they really want. So, operate through a licensed company with a financial agreement is a very nice, good tip to reduce the risk. Reduce the risk and the financial risk, because you don't need so much money to start a business. Let's go to the financial risk. In terms of the financial risk, one of the important things that I've seen a lot of entrepreneurs when pitching to investors is, oh, we need this money, but they don't have any quote, they don't have any performing voice from suppliers. So what investors think is, probably this is not true. So instead of this, why don't, before pitching to investors, get this written quote, performing voice from suppliers, and tell them, hey, I have these performing voices. This is the quotes from the suppliers. Don't you think that it mitigates the risk, the perceived risk versus the real risk? It helps a lot. So this is the first thing. Then reduce the level of investment. We have done that exercise of the 500,000, split it 100,000, 5 times 100,000. Try to reduce the level of investment, because if you reduce the level of investment, then you reduce the risk. Rent instead of buy. I don't understand many entrepreneurs are fundraising for buying cars, vehicles. Why don't you rent for 3 months, 6 months, and see if you have a business? If you have a business, then you can buy 100 cars. Don't buy stuff. Try to rent the stuff. Use buyback options. This This is a very interesting one, and I give you an example. One entrepreneur wanted to buy a big boat, which costs $800,000. He only had $200,000. It's a touristic boat for tourists. So he went to the bank to ask for $600,000 loan, and the bank said, without you bringing 50% of the money, nothing. So the entrepreneur came to me and said, Paulo, I need an angel investor. I want you to invest in the company. This is a fantastic project. And I said to the entrepreneur, but why do you need the money? Go and talk with the manufacturer of the boat. If the business fails, if they can buy you back the boat for 50% of the price in 1 year time. So, surprise, you went to talk with the boat manufacturer, and the boat manufacturer said yes. So he had 200,000 in the pocket, 400,000 promise from the manufacturer of the boat to buy back the boat if the business fails. And he asked me, now can you invest? And I said, why do you need me to invest? Go to talk with the bank. He goes to the bank and surprise. The bank says, oh, now it's completely different. There is not so much risk. So the bank gave him the loan. He didn't need money from the investor. So this is the way that people need to think to mitigate the risk and find ways to reduce the risk. Another thing, of course, is to subcontract the production, because if you subcontract production, the financial risk of something going wrong in the production is not on your side. And when you produce stuff, you need to stock, you need to buy in advance from suppliers. So this requires funds. The last one is operational risk. In terms of the operational risk, a lot of entrepreneurs say that the product has this performance, but they don't have any evidence that this is the performance. So try to get written statements from reliable entities that shows that your product or your service performs exactly the way you say. If you have a product that kills 99% of bacteria, don't say, oh, this product kills 99% of bacteria. Get an independent lab stating that they have done the analysis and it kills 99% of the bacteria. Because if you don't do this, what happens? If your product doesn't kill 99% but kills 97%, you go to the market and you can be sued by the market and you will probably go bankrupt because you didn't kill all the bacteria and someone got an illness, and this is a problem. So think about always getting written statements. Try to not reinvent the wheel. Let me give you a story. An entrepreneur tried to do, he did in reality, a machine with using of used cooking oil from fries, from restaurants, to turn into candles, scented candles. And this was very interesting business. So he wants to put the machine like espresso. You put the used cooking oil, you press a button, and it produces the candle, and with good smell. It's fantastic, correct? So this entrepreneur came to me and he said, look, I need the money. And I asked, why you need the money and how do you want to do it? And he wanted to design all the pieces of the product. All the pieces. So we need to have molds for every single piece. This represents a huge investment. I told him, look, try to focus on marketing. Try to focus on the way you sell the product, and not in terms of the content. Try to use standard pieces in the market because they are cheap, they have been tested. So what happened is, the machine was so expensive. He went to the market selling it for $300 retail price, when the market was just willing to pay $100, just because he was putting equipment that was not standard. If he has used standard equipment, the machine could have been retailed by $100. So try to think about always using standard pieces in the market. Do not try to reinvent it. The last one is about prototypes. I get crazy with entrepreneurs asking me $30,000 to build a prototype. And I say, why do you need $30,000? Oh, because I need a battery that costs $7,500. And I say, who produces the battery? Oh, this company. I call the phone and say, hey, I have your entrepreneur, fantastic entrepreneur. He's selecting the suppliers of batteries. Do you have any spare battery for him to test during 1 month the battery? Surprise, the battery company says, yes, we have a battery. He can come and get. I tell the entrepreneur, hey, go and get the battery for 1 month for you to test. Oh, really? Oh, but I need to buy a machine that cuts the pieces. And so, who has this machine? Oh, this kind of industry. Hey, I know that you have this kind of machine, we call a factory, and we have here a fantastic entrepreneur. Do you have any, by chance, have availability to help this entrepreneur just to cut these pieces on a weekend or after hours? Hey, tell him to come Saturday at 5 p.m. I will cut by myself the pieces to him. Tell them, hey, you get this machine there, you can go and get him to cut. No, but we need raw material. We need raw material. So who sells the raw material? This company. I call the company and they say, hey, this entrepreneur, fantastic project, is selecting the supplier of raw material. Do you have some raw material for him to test? Yes, tell him to come. And then the entrepreneur says, oh, no, but we need money for marketing. Look, for marketing $1,000, please go to work in McDonald's 1 month and get $1,000. So, of course, it's always easier. I have the idea. I am absolutely fantastic. I need $30,000. This is crazy because entrepreneurs, if they get money from investors, they will give 20% of the company, 30% of the company without any need. Don't give money, don't give equity to investors if they don't bring value. Try to mitigate the risk. So this is the last slide, and I'm happy to answer now questions that you may have. If you want to buy the book, you can buy it online in Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and many other retailers around the world. It's only in English by now, but you will have a different language. So. Thank you for coming. I want to take a photo, a selfie with you if you are okay with that. Is it okay? Let's stand up and put like the hands like this, and I will take a selfie and then I will answer questions from you.
เดี๋ยวเราจะไปเป็นสเตจต่อถ่ายรูปเสร็จแล้วไปเลยนะ